So yeah, guys, it's been on the fence about this one for a while, but I think this bozo kind of deserves it. I was kind of just, you can be the guy who's nice to other people, and uh, you know, be the guy who's friends with others. But I think sometimes some bozos deserve it. You know, some absolute bozos really deserve it because it's not just being wrong. It's not being wrong. That's the problem. There's a lot of people who are wrong. It's the arrogance. It's the arrogance they have, where they are absolute in their statements, absolute, and to the point where you're just like, brother, I have Google, and if I use Google, it will fuck you up because unlike you, I'm part time. I'm Tony Stark building this shit in a cave with a box of scraps, and you, my friend, are a guy who's full time and can't do basic research, and it's outrageous to me like that these people exist. I'll see, who else is there? Graham, who is arrogant. Thing. Uh, I see Graham. He's quite arrogant. But I think he's kind of figured out Labour are pretty shit. He's a guy who openly wanted a job with the Labour Party, and so he was very nice to them. And I think once he couldn't get that employment, he was like, fuck it. It's got a show to run. So sometimes I'll criticize Labour, sometimes I won't. And so yeah, he's trying to find his footing in this world. And the other one, who I don't want to mention because, they'll take it personally, but they can guess who they are. Is figured out as well. Labour are a bit shit, and oh, not the Hat Boy. Nah, that man's straight idiocy. That man he's not a clown. He's the entire circus. So I couldn't get my soundboard working because I just gave it like a go for like 15 minutes, and Elgato have changed everything. So we're gonna put him on Packwatch. So every time he makes a dumb point and I cook him, we're gonna go back to this clip here. Bill has just become a Labour Party spokesman. Morals and actual politics aren't. Do you know what it is? Yeah, I can see it, and I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. They were going to say, "Oh, you're enabling reform." I knew this was going to happen. They were going to say, "Oh, if you don't vote Labour, you're going to be enabling the Reform Party." It was so obvious. It was so obvious. Um, but in the end, it's already happening. It's already happening, and I want this on record. Bear with. Because I want to ask them, are you happy with how this has turned out? Because I was saying put pressure when they're doing the manifesto. That was my argument. My argument was do it during the manifesto. You might actually get somewhere. But instead, I want to ask these people, are you happy? Because this might be their response.
Happy that you've won.
More than you believe. More than you believe, I'm happy.
You aren't showing it.
I'm so happy, believe me. I'm so happy. Happy New Year.
That's how these guys sound. When you talk about the Labour Party, to Graham at least. This is what it sounds like.
Pep, you won it. You won it.
This is a tough game, so we will accept, like I said before. The more team with more ball possession, we have always. All around the world, the goalkeeper in the 5 box in the box is full. Bravo, is full. Standard.
You don't seem that happy that you've won.
More than you believe. More than you believe, I'm happy.
You aren't showing it.
I'm so happy, believe me. I'm so happy. Happy New Year.
That's what they sound like.
You don't seem that happy that you've won.
More than you believe.
More than you believe.
More than you believe, I'm happy.
You aren't showing it.
I'm so happy, believe me. I'm so happy. Happy New Year.
You don't.
It's a rare event when you have to say, right? A rare event when that guy, Graham Hughes, is the more intelligent person on a video. Rare event. Because that guy, he thinks the UK can just join the single market. So, no, he's got that shit plugged into his veins like Barney Gumble. But I'm telling you guys, right, who is the fake intellectual? You're about to find out, Barry. You're about to find out. You got to hold on. You got to hold on for a little bit. I've got to build the suspense up a little bit. I've got to get the watch time up. I've got to let you guys know. You can't be mysterious and reveal everything at the start. You got to build to it. Gotta let you guys know what's going on. But yeah, we got these brothers on Packwatch, so you're gonna see this clip played a lot. I hope Zach becomes the leader of the Green Party as well. You're going to see this clip played a lot because trust me, these brothers are on Packwatch, and I'm here for it. I was conflicted on being super mean to some of these people, but I think if you're stupid or if you're wrong, that's fine. That I can live with. If you don't do your research properly, I'm annoyed about that, but that's okay. Not everyone can be expected to do the minutes of research it takes to do Google searches on occasion. That's fine. So maybe you don't know how to use a search engine. It's okay. I can't take the arrogance of it though. I can't take people who are wrong and arrogant. You be one or the other. You can be arrogant and correct, and I would argue I am very arrogant but correct, right? You can be that. Can I still be mean? Of course you can, mate. You're Scottish. You can't change that about you. You can be arrogant and correct, or you can be mean and you can be stupid and not arrogant. You have to accept it. You have to accept you're stupid, right? So we got this man on Packwatch here. So I genuinely believe, right, this man, he just doesn't believe in facts anymore. I think Brexit has really cooked these guys. I'll be honest. I think Brexit and that Boris Johnson government really ended any sense of intelligence they had, any sense of wanting to do research, because they're content farms. They just put out content daily with no research. What do you expect? The greatest race in the world. Don't know about that, G. You guys can't handle the sun or spice, so I don't think you've got a claim to that one. If you can't handle some chili peppers and mild sunlight, I don't know. Connection isn't great. No, it's not. It's not Bowler Hat Man, because I can tell you, I would not call Bowler Hat Man a fake intellectual. I would just call him fake, because he does not deserve to be called an intellectual. That man's a moron. But when I say he's not the clown, when I say to you guys, he's not the clown, he's the entire circus, right? When I say to you, he got mad at me, yeah, on Discord, and he tried to go into a Teams call, not Teams call, work brain. He tried to go in a Discord call I was in and tried to flame me, and then I flamed him back, and then he dipped, right? That's who that guy is. This is a guy who believed in the ghost of Kyiv. Like, this is a guy who'll believe anything he wants to believe. You could tell him, right? Don't worry, Starmer's got a secret plan, right, to grow the economy and bin the fiscal rules. And this guy would be like, wow, that sounds so cool. I can't wait for that. This is a guy who endlessly covers Reform UK and the Tories. This is a guy who doesn't really want to cover the Labour Party because he knows their shit. That's why. And I can go over his content. We could turn this into a double roast. That's what we could do. Because that man's a moron. I'm telling you. Like, let's do it. Because honestly, I wouldn't mind a rematch with that man, because it would be great. Because what's his argument going to be? Let's see. Let's see what he's doing. Video on reform, video on reform, video on Farage, which is reform, video on reform, video on reform, on reform, on reform, Putin, reform, Tories, reform, Tories, George Galloway, Corbyn. So 2 videos on Corbyn there, kind of. Reform, Jeremy Corbyn. I guess you could argue that's about Labour a little bit. Rachel Reeves. So you got 1 video properly on Labour. Reform. You guys get my point? Should I keep going? Should I keep going, guys? Yeah, it's crazy. You think he wanted this Labour government. You think it'd cover everything, but no, he doesn't cover them at all. Handle getting put out of football tournaments like our Hawaiian neighbours, and that's hilarious. He just makes videos about reform, yeah. If I had a member of Socialist Campaign Group as my MP, I would vote for them. But unfortunately, I don't. I mean, that's fine. Like, I don't. I'm not really here to tell you who to vote for and who not to vote for. I can tell you who I think is not a good MP, not a good candidate, not a good person. I can tell you that who I think those are, in my opinion. If you're in a seat where it's Labour versus Reform, then vote Labour. But I'm not going to tell someone to, you know, if they don't vote for Labour, they're a reform enabler, you're a piece of shit. I wouldn't say that, because you still have to win people's votes, guys. You still have to go out there and do stuff to win their vote. You can't be like, well, if you don't vote for me, reform are going to win. It's like, cool, you're going to lose your seat. You're going to be unemployed. You know, you can go work for a think tank. You've lost all access to power. You know, that's fine. I can live with that. You can't, you know, you can't make the argument of, if you don't let me win, this other person who is also bad going to win. You have to go out there and win those votes. You have to make the case of, why should people give you another 5 years in Parliament? That's what you got to do. So, anyways, let's get on with the video, because I'm going to be here all night, and I did want to play some. Marvel Rivals at some point with some of the other guys. So. Yeah, sad times. Someone said no to me, but yeah, let's get on with this video. So, let's see this claim.
A vigorous discussion going on in the chat as well. No, we want Jeremy Corbyn, not a genocidal PM, says Aaron. Thank you very much for the £2.
So this is already in the wrong order. But yeah, let's have a look, because I put this in for another clip as well.
All right, okay. So first of all, obviously Starmer is not. In fact, if anything, he has.
So Keir Starmer is the guy. Let's do you know what? Yeah, let's do this properly. Let's do this properly. Let's see this, right? Let's not forget about this clip.
I'm very clear.
So he's not pro-genocide, okay?
Israel must have that, does have that right to defend herself, and Hamas bears responsibility.
A siege is appropriate? Cutting off power, cutting off water?
Well, I think that Israel does have that right. It is an ongoing...
I don't need the Thornbury clip. This is enough.
Prosecuted genocide. And
that's in the past, you know. It's in the past. And the thing is, right, we judge him by his current record. You know, he was employed to do a job, was he not? When it came to prosecuting those genocides.
Again, I don't, you know, but we're going to say it. Corbyn is pro-genocide. He has been pro every genocide that has been committed in my lifetime except one.
So let's have a look. So Jeremy Corbyn, this is about Sudan, right? So the information I received via Al Jazeera and others about the situation in Sudan is truly horrendous. 8.2 million people have left their homes. 17.7 million are experiencing food shortages. Cholera, measles, and other diseases are rife. Unless there's a rapid ceasefire, the planting season simply will not begin, and there will be greater and deeper hunger, not just in Sudan but in neighbouring countries. Does the minister realistically have any hope that the combination of UN and African nations or anyone else can intervene? So this is clear. Jeremy Corbyn on record in 2024 saying he's against the situation in Sudan and is asking for a ceasefire and for aid to be put there immediately. Does that sound like a person who is backing a genocide in Sudan, guys? Does, honestly. So we go, that's the first one. That's the first one. Absolute cap, straight cap from this guy.
That is what I call pro-genocide. He was on Assad's side, it's on Putin's side. He will tell you there's no issue with going on in Xinjiang at all.
Okay. So this is the Uyghur people in China. This is on Jeremy Corbyn's own website in 2021, right? He goes that Uyghur Muslims are being persecuted in Xinjiang. It's on his fucking website, guys. It's on his fucking website, and this piece of shit is telling you that's not true. So, you know, when it comes to treating people with kid gloves, right? When it comes to being nice to people and caring for their feelings and stuff, right? This guy is fucking lying to people. He's absolutely lying to people, and he does no research, because we can see it right here. It's in black and white on his website, guys. On his website, saying he is, you know, talking about Uyghur Muslims being persecuted in China. He's talking about German Muslims being killed in a far-right attack in February 2020. You know, this guy is talking about, Corbyn is talking about this. You know, you could say he's not talking about it enough. You can say he's not talking about it as much as he's talking about Gaza. That's fine. That's a fair argument to make. But you cannot make the argument he has not discussed these issues. You cannot do
China. He has not a word to say about what's going on in Sudan. Why?
He's not got a word to say about what's going on in Sudan. Okay.
Do people in Sudan not matter?
And this fucking bozo, right? Has he done a video on Sudan? Can you see a single video here? I've hit the search function. Is there a single video here on Sudan? 6.3 thousand videos he's produced. Not a single video here based on the search from Sudan.
Been burned
You
alive.
sound like
They're
you're
being
doing
starved.
You sound like
They're
you're doing a bit
being
of
raped.
whataboutism here, Phil.
It's not
Oh, he's just said it.
whataboutism. That's what they try and tell you. That is what they will try and tell you. It's what about. No, it's not. Whataboutery is when you try and change the subject. This is the same.
You are trying to change the subject. He's saying he doesn't want to vote for a guy a prime minister who's backing a genocide. He wants this viewer want to back Jeremy Corbyn. You've switched it now and said, why doesn't he care about almost all of these other genocides, right? And he's saying, fact check me.
Subject. What I'm saying is, why does he not condemn any genocide?
He literally has.
Unless it's committed by Jews.
Oh, there's the anti-Semitic argument. There it is. Oh, guys, are you seeing how disingenuous this piece of shit is? Honestly, this is crazy.
I'm not criticising him.
So I guess the guys who run Sudan must be Jewish. I guess the people in China must be Jewish as well. And Corbyn has condemned Russia. So is Vladimir Putin Jewish as well?
Attacking the genocide in Palestine. I'm criticising him for not attacking any other genocide in history.
Well,
or in
and
recent
arguably,
name one.
I've just done it.
A Corbyn fan, name me one. Show me one source of him criticising a genocide. One.
So
I'll take one.
There you go. I gave you two. He's criticised the situation in Sudan. Fair enough. You can say he's not explicitly used the word genocide, but it's pretty clear it's a starvation situation here. He's talking about food shortages, cholera, measles, and other diseases are rife. This is the guy who would also argue you can't argue what's happening in Gaza is a genocide because the court hasn't ruled on it. So for him to say, why isn't he called out any other genocide? Has the international court said Sudan's a genocide? Has the international court said the situation in Ukraine or Xinjiang is a genocide? Have they said that? Is there an official ruling? Because that's his criteria for it.
With in respect to Russia, if Russia is allowed to keep Ukrainian land and it's given up, which is what him and others on the left seem to want from day one, which is just
Seems
like
what they've said so.
Lay down your arms and let the Russians do what they will.
So let's see this, because I don't think Corbyn's that great in Russia, I'll be honest. I think Corbyn does have that anti-Western mentality to an extent. I think he is a little bit. He does not condone Russia's behaviour or expansion. He describes Russia's actions as not provoked. He has said it was probably a mistake to allow former Warsaw Pact countries to allow join NATO. That's what he said, right? But the thing is, Ukraine war is a disgrace and Russia wrong at every level. So this is Radio Free Europe, not exactly some liberal website, right? Former leader, Ukraine war is disgraceful. Russia's wrong at every level. So here he is condemning Russia, but then again, he has said he wants a ceasefire, things like that. And the thing is, the Russians want to take the land. So you have to come up with some sort of agreement. And if you want to argue that, if you want to argue that's wrong, that's fine. But we've seen the United Kingdom, essentially force, I think it was, and Roshan's going to correct me if I'm wrong, essentially force Ireland to accept that part of Ireland, which is Northern Ireland, will be permanently occupied by the British government. Am I wrong about that? Because Corbyn has criticised that. Have you? Because we are in control of a foreign nation. In Ireland, in Northern Ireland, we do occupy part of that land. Let's face it, he's shitting a brick, honestly. So
close your eyes and think of Ukraine. Think of Mother Russia. And
because you could argue Corbyn's bad on Russia, that's fine. That's a very good. Oh, we still occupy 3% of Cyprus. That's fine. Your guy is this. This is your man right here.
That does have that right to defend herself, and Hamas bears responsibility.
A siege is appropriate? Cutting off power, cutting off water, supply?
Well, I think that Israel does have that right. It is an
Fuck you. This is him saying it's okay to vote for other parties, right?
So first of all, what I'm not trying to do here is persuade anyone to vote against or for any particular party. If people would like to not vote Conservative...
This is, by the way, guys, this is before the 2019 election, which was an election that was far more important than the 2024 election just gone. This is the one where they could have got the single market Brexit. The only occasion where they could have gotten the UK in a situation where we could have stayed in the single market, because this was before Brexit happened. This was before Boris Johnson's Brexit deal was voted on in Parliament.
Or Brexit party at the general election, if you're a citizen who can take part in those elections, then that would be fantastic. But beyond that, I'm not really going to say. If you are happy to vote for the Lib Dems, if Labour have turned you off, then that's fine. That's your
it's fine. Okay.
choice. That's not what this is about. I'm just explaining why I will never vote for them.
And the thing is, this guy, I agree with. You know, just say, look, I tell people, look, I don't want to vote for Labour. I have many issues with them. Look, I'd probably vote Green again, to be honest. But if you want to vote for Labour, I'm not gonna blame you for it. And if you're scared of a Reform Party more than anything, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you know, here he is now.
3 things you disagree with him on, and they can't, because they can't allow, because that's a cult, by the way. That is a cult.
Yeah.
Where you cannot actually, or if they try, it's because he's too honest. He's too honest.
This about Corbyn. So
it's like going for the job, isn't it? That, you know, I'm too good for this job.
Yeah.
It's my modesty holds me back. Thank you very much to Antoli.
We just say Anato to begin with.
Yeah, Anatole.
This might happen a bit.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. What is the alternative? Labour are finished. And
this is it here.
Easy. Reform UK. Reform UK are the alternative. Which you want? Because Labour aren't finished, by the way. Corbyn has the power to significantly weaken them. The alternative is Reform UK. Pick your poison.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's pick your poison. Now it's growing up politics.
It's really that simple.
But
pick your poison. Because I'll tell you something. If at the end, now I've made it really clear. By the way, this is a problem of our voting system, right? It's now the voting behaviour is so fragmented that the voting system cannot cope. But at the end of the day, Corbyn and Sultana aren't doing this to bring better times to Britain. They're doing it. They know full well that this is allowing Reform UK. Their aim is the "I told you so" gambit. They want to say "I told you so, I told you so, I told you so." I'm going to say this: anyone who supports this venture is supporting Reform. And when Reform UK come in and they trash all your workers' rights that Labour brought in,
the workers' rights that Sharon Graham, head of a trade union, said is Swiss cheese.
They trash all the Sure Start centres that Labour are bringing back in. They
Sounds fair.
Trash work on clean, secure energy, which Labour are bringing in. All of this stuff.
Again, I don't think Labour are super clear on exactly, you know, the ownership structures and things like that on these things.
Above inflation pay rises, all of this stuff, when that gets trashed, it's your fault.
Oh, okay. It's your fault. Right. Okay.
First, if you find yourself enjoying the video, then please click the like button.
I did enjoy this video, Phil,
subscribe
to be
the
fair,
channel.
so I will hit the like button.
So first of all, what I'm not trying to do here is persuade anyone to vote against or for any particular party. If people would like to not vote Conservative or Brexit Party at the general election, if you're a citizen who can take part in those elections, then that would be fantastic. But beyond that, I'm not really going to say. If you are happy to vote for the Lib Dems, if Labour have turned you off, then that's fine. That's your choice. That's not what this is about.
So you could argue his views have changed in the last 6 years, but I'd want to see an explainer why. I want to see an explainer why he suddenly said, you know, Labour you have to accept Labour being shit. Is it because he wanted to be an MP in the Labour Party, or is it because he genuinely believes in incrementalism and he's accepted that? Because he has talked about that before, but you know, I'd want to see a proper video on why he's changed his views on these things, because at the moment it's very sad. Here's talking about Darfur.
Genocide. Sorry, we don't have anything to say about the biggest scale genocide happening in the world right now. Yet there are many people who want action to help Palestinians in Gaza and the illegally occupied West Bank and are motivated by compassion, not politics. But how do you tell the difference when they're stood next to each other? How do you tell the difference between those who just want practical help and those who are using it for their own sake?
Hello. As many of us understandably...
just doing some cursory research here. Here's Owen Jones actually discussing the war in Sudan.
Selfish needs to grift or to hate. Let me ask you a question. Let's imagine a couple of people, 2 generic white men who
So
claim
he's picked white dudes, okay?
to care deeply about the people suffering in Gaza. Both of them are British, their parents are British, grandparents are British, you know, stretching right back. Their roots are entirely British. They have no familial or ancestral links anywhere else. One of these 2 generic well-meaning white men is also appalled at the carnage in Sudan, Ukraine. They were outspoken about the way Assad invited Russia to bomb his own people in their homes during the Arab Spring protests. They also condemned the murders, rapes and kidnapping by Hamas 2 years ago. The other one has nothing to say about Darfur and actively denies the other atrocities. As far as they are concerned, the only serious crimes against humanity happening anywhere in the world are in Gaza. That's it, nowhere else.
So I'm thinking, who fits the bill, right? Okay, let's do it.
And instead of encouraging people to donate to the organisations which are actively trying to get aid into Gaza, they instead encourage people to give them money to remain in this country to fund their protests. Which one really cares about people in Gaza? Are we to seriously believe both of them do? Why would we believe that a white British man with zero links to Palestine, other than their lifelong grift, cares about anyone in Gaza if they do not care about people suffering the same fate in Ukraine or Sudan today or Syria a few years ago? That's a genuine question, by the way.
So I'm thinking he might be going at Corbyn here, but he might be going at Owen Jones. And I've got a strong feeling he's going at Owen Jones in this video because these guys hate Owen Jones.
Explain to me how it's possible to genuinely care for people in Gaza, but have no interest in the plight of people in Darfur.
So let's see, Darfur, right? I'm going to check I'm spelling this correctly, by the way, just in case, right? Okay, Darfur, right? So let's have a look. So he's got no videos on Sudan, right? But maybe he cares about Darfur. Oh. Okay.
Because despite asking repeatedly, I never get an answer. One person tried to reason it out with me a couple of years ago. And this person, to be clear, I think genuinely cares, right? They tried to say, well, you know, some people need to specialise in one issue, you know, to really get the message out.
Darfur is Sudan, by the way. That's how uneducated I am on the subject. It doesn't help that they keep calling it two different things. I'll 100% admit. I will 100% admit I'm very uneducated about some of the other stuff, right? With the Uyghur stuff, I think, you know, I know roughly what's going on. With Darfur, like 100%, I will admit that I have no idea.
Absolutely get that. I do the same. In order to get into the detail of anything, you do have to spend a lot of time on that.
So, you know, he talks about people, you know, grifting and stuff like that, and that's why he doesn't ask in this video about memberships, I'm pretty sure.
Usually fine. There's nothing really cunning about these grifters if you question them. They're not used to it. They're used to blind, unquestioning obedience.
That's you, bro. I'm sorry to say.
But let me know what you think in the comments below. For more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams of behind the scenes.
So, you know, he's saying to people, don't believe these grifters. All they want is to donate money for themselves. And this is a guy who, in description, left no links to charity. Left no links to charity. But what he has done is left his Patreon link. Okay. You know, and this is probably his default, you know, this thing here. But who's the guy who's, you know, he's the guy accusing others of not, you know, promoting other charities that do work and things like that. Whereas he's left no links in there. And, you know, if you look at Owen Jones, right? Owen Jones has a GoFundMe to help Sudan. So if he is going at Owen Jones, mate, swing and a miss. But that's common for you. This video here.
It detracts from all the good stuff in the bill and elsewhere.
Talking about the good stuff in the, you know, the disability bill.
There was an announcement today. The poorest parts of England are getting a boost for NHS services.
And the thing, this sort of thing that pisses me off a lot, right? Whenever Labour do something good, right, and mine are good, or, you know, something that's like mid, right? He's always saying, oh, this is the best thing ever. Why is no one talking about this? And it's like, bro, like, we expect this other Labour Party. It's in the name. It's like when the Tories did austerity, you know, no one was going, oh my God, I can't believe they've done these cuts. It's expected. That's who these people are. Like, it's expected that the Labour Party would do, you know, would fund the NHS. You don't get credit for doing minor expectations. You don't deserve it. I'm sorry.
That's the sort of positive news.
You don't get credit for washing up the plates that you made dirty in the sink.
Labour want talking about. It's helping tackle wealth inequalities. But instead, the biggest news is about Starmer ramming his head against a massive rebellion in order to pass moves to increase the overall levels of poverty. It's utterly insane.
That's your guy, bruv, and you can criticise him, but, you know, these are the guys who said in their manifesto they're going to look at reforming things like welfare. And when they do stuff like that, what that means is normally cuts. Normally cuts. When people mention reforms, it normally means cuts.
Labour have a difficult enough time getting positive news to the public as it is. But they stand no chance whilst there's negative news for people to talk about instead. Absolutely gobsmacked that it's possible to get a team of advisors together that are this bad and then stick with them through all the incredibly negative media stories and polling collapse that they are provably...
Regarding Darfur, right now, to implement a United Nations-backed no-fly zone to protect the civilian population from further aerial bombardment by Sudanese Air Force, Corbyn backed it. So he backed a no-fly zone, which is the most aggressive thing you can do, really, aside from full military intervention. A no-fly zone is no planes off the ground, no fighters off the ground. It's what they did to... it's one of the things they did against Assad.
Generating. Labour being a one-term government...
Not Assad, sorry, Gaddafi.
Was a ridiculous notion last year. Utterly ridiculous, given the circumstances.
What's that?
Was a ridiculous notion, generating. Labour being a one-term government was a ridiculous notion last year. Utterly ridiculous.
Why was it ridiculous? These guys, come in with 36%, I think it's like 36% of the vote, right? Deeply unpopular from the jump, right? If we look at government approval, right? Deeply unpopular. Here you've got 24. Look, they were never that popular to begin with. August 24, they came in July 24. They were on negative 32, positive 28, so already on a decline, and it's just gone up. Look at that. So the idea that they wouldn't be a one-term government is crazy,
given the circumstances.
The only reason you thought they would be two-term is because the Tory party are in the bin, mate. That's why you thought the Tory party would be so bad that they would have no actual opposition. That's why.
But incredibly dumb moves like this are making it a possibility. I still don't rate it as likely, but it is now a possibility.
Because the other thing, you could run into a situation where Labour have an incredibly small majority or have to go by coalition, and I'm sure you'd count that as a win, Bao. I wouldn't. If you go from the majority they have to a very small party, I don't count that as a win.
I would certainly urge Labour MPs to vote to amend the legislation, and if if necessary, sink the whole bill. I'm not going to lie, that's incredibly damaging, right? You should almost never rebel on this level. But I actually think it would be the lesser of two evils.
Because that's the way he sees the world. It's the lesser of two evils. He's all this nonsense pragmatism he's got when he doesn't understand. If you keep asking people to vote against the lesser of two evils, they get sick of it. And eventually you get someone who comes around and says, the system's shit, watch me reform it, i.e. Trump, Farage, that ilk of people. That's what they'll do. And that's how they win, because the system is fried. They give the regular run-of-the-mill politicians a chance and they keep failing. So what do? They go for the wild card. That's what we saw during 2015. Or 2016 even, during the Brexit referendum. People went for the wild card because they weren't happy with the system as is. You had Tories and, if you look at who was on the, the Remain side, right? You had the leader, you had the Prime Minister, right? You had the leader of the opposition. Whether you thought Corbyn's performance in the referendum was bad or not, I think it was bad. You had him. You had the leader of the Lib Dems running for running for Remain, right? So you had the three parties effectively who helped cause a lot of the messes we're in. You had the Labour Party who, financial crash, never recovered from that really. You had the Lib Dems who were involved in austerity, and you got the Tories who were involved in austerity as well. And then on the other side, you had Boris Johnson, who was, I think, London Mayor at the time. He was an MP. You had Nigel Farage, never in politics at all. Absolute outsider, wild card. And the only one who was in the cabinet was Michael Gove, who didn't really have that much of an impact, I think, during the Brexit referendum. It was mostly Boris Johnson, who was a Tory, yes, but wasn't in Parliament. And you had Nigel Farage, who was an MEP, who barely had any role in actual politics. So again, we can go band for band with this guy. It's just crazy to me.
Notified. So it would appear that Reeves and her Treasury team are upset because there's so much discussion on the cuts, but not on the much greater amount of extra taxes raised or the much greater amount in extra spending.
So if we look at this tremendous amount of extra spending, right, and he just said spending, he didn't really say where it's going to. So if you look at this, it's a lot. You're talking about what, 60 billion? Must be 60 billion there, right? Between 23, 24, right? But here you've got, a decent... here you've got a decent chunk of money, right? That's gone up as well. I'm shit at maths, but you can see the difference between 22, 23, 23, 24, which is when, you had the last of the Tory government. You can see that. That's the COVID years, really. But you can see here, spending has gone up 30 billion. So, it's gone up 60. About 60 billion, which is a good amount, but it's not unheard of. The increase, I don't think it's absolutely unheard of. Not great. You could deride my graph reading skills here, but between 22, 23, 23, 24 was, you know, a significant jump. And between 23, 24, 24, 25 is about the same. So I'm not really seeing it, bro. Seeing it.
Which would be popular, of course. And there's a sense in which their complaint is both fair and unfair. It's fair in that, despite all the talk of austerity and why aren't you taxing the rich, this is not an austerity government, and they have actually taxed.
And it depends which thing you're talking about. Because again, like, if you're just talking about, you know, in terms of spending, right? You know, UK total managed expenditure of the government of the United Kingdom. I think I might be looking at the wrong graph here, but this is total expenditure of the government, right? See, it's kind of gone up pretty consistently. I did try and find graphs in real terms. You know, maybe I'm wrong in this. Maybe I'm just reading the wrong graph, because I've seen different, you know, I've seen different metrics on this kind of stuff. UK spending as a percentage of GDP, you know, that graph is incredibly blurry. So we're not going to use that one, adjusted for inflation. But some of these graphs, they don't really go that far. But if you want to make the argument about total expenditure, it's not really the strongest argument to make. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading the government spending as a percentage of GDP is still lower than pre-austerity. I mean, I need data for that. Really, that's the problem. So, you know, what does the government spend money on? Spending review. Because annoyingly, it is quite frustrating to find graphs on this. Maybe that's a weakness on my part. Maybe the Mandem know where to find better graphs. But, you know, from what I can see, you know, just to argue about total expenditure, you know, this is probably a more accurate one if we could actually read it. It's not great, though. So I think Statista is probably the easiest website to use. Because there are some years where, you know, in real terms, the money wouldn't go up, but that's not what he's arguing. So I'm not going to give him that charitable definition, really. When you look at it, this is the totals. So again, like, has it gone up by a ton? Not massively. So
Tax the rich much more.
They haven't really done too much to tax the rich. They've done some stuff on non-doms, but it's really, you know, it's not doing the key reforms like, you know, raising capital gains alongside income tax. Not doing the key stuff like increasing the 45% tax rate. They have done some stuff on tax avoiders, but again, it's not. I don't think it's anywhere near enough.
Are absolutely boosting overall spending by a lot, and I mean a lot. This is not being reported on. However, who do they expect to report on it?
You probably.
Tory media are obviously not going to report on popular Labour projects. The non-Tory media, of course, are not going to report kindly cuts to the disabled and some pensioners.
So here he's talking about UK expenditure on public transport, which, again, his graph doesn't really back him. I'll be honest. You know, like, when you look at it, right? So 22, 23, 23, 24... unless you're going to argue most of that was done by Reeves, which I don't think is true. You know, I don't think his numbers even back him at all, to be honest. When we look at his numbers, it's gone up by 4% there, and it's gone up by less. Oh, so it's gone up by 0.4% there. It's gone up by 0.3% there, so it's less. So, again, it's not great.
I mean, you know, Labour have had a few unpopular policies, but...
A few, I'd say, I don't know. We're known globally for the cuts to winter fuel. That's what we're known for.
Let's say they'd gotten the winter fuel policy right first time.
Let's pretend that airplanes in the night sky like shooting stars.
And let's say they hadn't cut for disabled people, or at least...
Let's pretend that the most unpopular policies did not exist. Let's pretend when David Cameron did... let's pretend when David Cameron and the coalition government was there, let's pretend they didn't do austerity. And I'd say let's pretend he didn't bang a pig allegedly, but, you know, that's a different video for a different day. Let's pretend he didn't do austerity and he didn't call the Brexit referendum.
Let's say they'd properly means-tested disability payments as well.
How would you properly means-test disability payments? Like, what do you mean by properly means-test it?
So you weren't hitting people who struggle for money.
How would you do that? You know, because PIP is a universal thing. PIP is one. Well, it's universal to everyone who wants to claim it. It's not it's not an out-of-work benefit. You know, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. You can claim PIP. So, what do you mean by that?
then there would be more people willing to shout about the big spending. As it is, because they don't utilise their own very large comms team and are actively giving others reasons to talk about the unpopular stuff, Labour can't really complain.
With the winter fuel cut, right? If you think about who watches daytime news, really, Phil, I'm a teacher, teaching false history. And thank you, Inda Gloom. Are you new? I don't think I've seen you before. But you know, yeah, I've lost my train of thought here. What do you say? Let's go back. Sorry, I got distracted by money.
Actively giving others reasons to talk about the unpopular stuff, Labour can't really complain.
Okay, there we go. I remember now. Winter fuel allowance, right? Oh shit! Lost my train of thought.
However, the short-sighted cuts aside, Labour are certainly spending a lot more than the Conservatives did. I said so regularly ever since the budget was announced. But of course, people need to feel it. They need to see it, right? No point showing them.
That's it. Old people watch the news, right? Old people watch, daytime television. So if you're an old person, you got all day to watch the TV, right? If you're a pensioner, especially. And now what you're seeing on the TV, you're seeing people cut your winter fuel allowance. And all of these news people, they're covering it. Why? Because all the old people are tuning in, saying, "Oh, what's going on with my winter fuel allowance?" They're calling into the chat shows, And what happens is you feed a cycle, because who are the people who are most likely to watch the news? Probably old people, especially TV news and print media. Who buys newspapers? So you're feeding into that narrative, because it's the news business at the end of the day, right? So the news business is that if it sells, how old is old? I've already got a record for being ageist. How old do you need to be to get the winter fuel allowance? I'll say that's old for today. It's relative, depending on how I feel and how old I am on the day. But we'll say 60s. Define old. Am I going to get in trouble here, guys? I'm actually going to get in trouble here. I don't want to get smoked by a bunch of boomers, I'll be honest. I don't want you guys to be smoking the match pack. I don't want to end up like this. So, this could be me. I could be on Packwatch here. So I'll say 65. Right? 65. Is that okay? Am I going to get in trouble for 65? Guys? 65? Anyways, before I lose all the audience. Barn, Maj, Glasgow, Cave. Fuck my life. I don't even know what that means. That's not even English. Old and frail. 65. 65. Zoo Lane. Banger show those. If I played the song, would I get copyrighted? Probably not. I'll show you. Give you guys a banger old school tune. I'm gonna get claimed for this. Is there copyright on this? 64. Oh no, it's 64. Oh, I got it wrong. It's not 65, it's 64. Oh, we'll say 64 then. We'll say 64 is old. Right. 64. Okay, that's it. I'm locking in. 64, guys. That's old. So, yeah. What else you gotta do for your time? Oh, let's do this properly before I get absolutely destroyed here. $66, okay? 66. So that's when you can retire. Okay. So if you're 66, which you might be because my audience demographics are very old, that's old. I'm sorry. Okay. If you want to unsubscribe for that, that's okay. If you're not happy about it, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. So if you're 66 years old, you've just retired. Fucking hell. If you're 66 years old and you've just retired, right, you're getting your pension and you're finally getting your winter fuel allowance, right, and your free bus pass, must be exciting times, right? What happens when they want to cut your winter fuel allowance? What you do, you're going to go on the news. What news source are you going to go on? You're going on Facebook? Nah, you're too old for that. You're going to go on Twitter? What's that? The Bird app? Never heard of it. You go on the TV. You go check out Good Morning Britain. You go check out BBC Breakfast. And what you see, they're discussing it. I don't get my pension until I'm 67. Am I getting turned on here? We should all go to Phil's house, dance outside his door like this. No, I'm good, bro. But yeah, anyways, so back to the point.
Numbers on a chart. People don't like looking at numbers on a chart.
So you got to improve people's living standards, which Labour are doing to an extent with the increases in minimum wage, some of the other stuff around green policies. If that money actually does feed back to the consumer, but is that going to be enough? I don't know, because you need to see how people feel. And we know people vote against their best interests. They did it during the Brexit referendum when in 2015 I think people's living standards were higher than they are now, right? And they still voted to make them worse effectively in Brexit. It just depends on what Nigel's offer is. I'm older than you, but I'm not old. People live longer, so now our class 80. See, it's all relative, guys. It's all relative, It's all relative. So, you could be 55 and you could say I'm not old. Someone who is 72 is old. You could be 72 and say nope, someone 100 is old. It's relative. But I'm going to draw a line and say if you're over 50, you're old. I'm sorry. And maybe there'll come a point where I'm still somehow doing this channel in 20 years' time, right? In 21 years' time, and I'll say, look, I'm 50 years old, guys, and you know what? I don't think that's very old, do you? So, it depends, So, again, his own graph doesn't really back him. Total expenditure by the government, I'm going to go from this graph, doesn't really back him. And we go to our final clip here. Are these guys right? These guys like Graham, who seems mad at Labour, Tansky, who seems mad at Labour. Let's have a look at, I don't want to be mean to Tansky because I think at least she's calling out Labour. Whether the Friday Night Social is diabolical. Whether that's, because she was a person who called people Tory enablers if they didn't want to back Labour, right? And now she's calling out Labour. So should I be mean? I don't know. Graham's calling them out. Should I accuse them of being grifters? Should I say, they can see that all the energies with the anti-Labour movement, that's why they're kind of jumping on it. These are the people who called me a Tory enabler, by the way, guys. And now, according to Phil, if you don't vote for Labour, you're a reform enabler. Okay. What about if you criticise Labour? Are you a reform enabler? So yeah, I want to ask these guys, how do you feel about your vote? Are you happy?
You seem that happy that you've won.
More than you believe. More than you believe, I'm happy.
You aren't showing it.
I'm so happy, believe me. I'm so happy. Happy New Year.
Because that's how Phil comes across in his videos.
You don't seem that happy that you've won.
More than you believe. More than you believe, I'm happy.
You aren't showing it.
I'm so happy, believe me. I'm so happy. Happy New Year.
He's so happy. Happy New Year. Happy. I'm so happy, believe me. So I don't know, guys. I just, it's been a rough old week. I would recommend you watch my video on the price of being human. I think it was a decent video. I don't think it was the best production on my end, but it's very rare. I do have good production, but I request you watch that video. So, I hope you actually do watch it. Thank you, Indaglim, for the super chat. I appreciate it. But yeah, no, my brain is kind of whack, guys. Sorry, it's been a long week. I'll tell you that for free. It's been a very, very long week. So I just want to say, guys, I do appreciate your work has been not great, in all honesty, but it's no one's fault that. So it's been a tough week, and kind of been thinking about what I want the channel to be, because I can't lie, I'm quite bitter at some of these people, but I think it's deserved. I think, especially in this case, I think it's deserved because this guy is a piece of shit. He's the guy making very definitive statements about other people, right? Very definitive statements with very little to no evidence. I can't believe I've missed the chance to do this. I have fumbled so hard that I'm actually disappointed in myself, guys, because I could have played this. I could have played this in context. I've never been more upset in my life.
Nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
What a classic. What an absolute classic.
My source is that I made it the fuck up. Source is that I made it the fuck. My source is that I made it the fuck.
Senator Phil Strong of Lincolnshire has said his source is he made it the fuck up. So yeah. So yeah, I missed the boat, guys. I failed you as a content creator. Yeah, someone's got a video about CX. Well, yeah, not much more to say, gang. I'm a bit, ticked off. Been a long day, been a stressful day. Got through it though, as always. So I want to say I appreciate you guys as always. I love doing this on YouTube. It's good. It's good for me on a personal level and a professional level, because it's very rare in an industry you can really call people out and show that they're frauds. So, and if the guy wants to go ban for ban, if he wants to go, if he wants an argument, if he wants a discussion, he knows what the Sunday roast is. He can have Alex referee. But we know what happened last time he was there. He got smoked because he thought the UK could rejoin the single market. I told him no. So, if that's what he wants, I'm more than happy. But him, Bowler Hatman, Graham, Supertansky, I'd happily go 1v1 against them any day of the week, But it just so happens that they just don't want it, and that's sad, isn't it? Really, when you think you're so correct, right? When you accuse others of living in an echo chamber, right? But you claim you look at the data. Well, let's look at the data, right? I can read a graph. I'm not as good as him. This is YouGov voting intention, right? Your boys are taking one hell of a beating. You've got Labour down by 10 points on reform. 10 points. 10 points. I can't count that high in Spanish. Pretty high. They're near Labour levels. So it's not looking good. Sorry, I say 10 points. About 7 points. Sorry. It's because the Labour number doesn't pop up there. About 7 points. So, it's not looking good, is it? It's not looking good, guys. So anyways, guys, I'm going to catch you later. Oops, I'll be on Discord. You guys want to chat for I won't be on for like a half hour because I can't it's very hot and I need to get some water, so I'm struggling here, guys. How can Labour turn this around? They fire that bozo Morgan McSweeney for a start. They changed the fiscal rules to be over 10 years and not 5 years. And they start really, investing in trades for a start. That would help. But also investing in infrastructure as well at the same time. I would try and get more skilled people in terms of trades into the country. Start building more shit. Start doing really big housing projects that are owned and run by the government. They had the Jobs Corps in America. I don't know if they've still got it. I'll try again. Don't worry about the age thing. I was teasing. The only teasing I do these days. I see. They had this in America. I don't know if they still got it. The Jobs Corps. America. Something like this. The Job Corps, that's it. So the Jobs Corps is a program administered by the United States Department of Labor that offers free education and vocational training to young people ages 16 to 24. That's what I'd be pushing very aggressively into trades. I would, right, look at the existing trade schools that we have and look at how we can subsidize them so people don't have to pay hundreds/thousands of pounds to take training courses in trades. And I would try and make it as easy as I can for them to do those trades, because a lot of people don't want to train they don't want to train people in trades because it's not worth the money. And that's what I would look at. UBI for the poor, that's in the future, bro. That's when Ultron comes in. It's when it's the age of Ultron. So UBI is not that far away, but it's still quite far away. But I'd say honestly, I think what you need is a massive creation of skilled workforce. You need to get away from the addiction to send people down the academic path, and get them into skilled jobs programs and make it so it's accessible for people via transport, but also affordable. It's got to be affordable. I would make that shit free. I would subsidize it. Can't they do it now? Yeah, they can. Of course they can. Of course they can do it now. But they're choosing not to for the most part. There's a trade school not far from me. It's in an annoying area because it's just out of town. It's in a village, right? I would say find places like that, subsidize it, right? So people can go there, you know, or the government should open it themselves. They should open these trade schools themselves, right, with all the equipment and stuff that, you know, people need, and make it free, you know, make it free so that they can go, you know, do night classes, do whatever, you know, pay good money to get this stuff off the ground. That's what I would do for a start. You know, make education much cheaper for the average person when they want to retrain and stuff, because there are people who, honestly, I've met people who want to, you know, go pick up other stuff but can't afford it. You know, they want to go learn coding, they want to learn other stuff, right? But it all costs money. It costs too much money to retrain, and you have to, you know, you have to balance your work, you know, work with life with education. Very difficult. You know, maybe look at subsidizing more things. You know, more of those kind of grants that they give, you know, university students, for example. Maybe you give that to the average person who's taking up courses to better themselves. Because the more people you can get into re-education, into higher jobs, the better it is. Obviously, there is a limit with unemployment being low. Put them on work experience. Yeah, exactly. Apprenticeships. If, you know, I don't see why apprenticeships shouldn't pay minimum wage. I think you either do it so the employer has to pay minimum wage for the apprentice, or do it so that the government help subsidise it more. I don't think it's viable to be paying someone like £4 or £5 an hour in an economy where you can get 12 quid an hour doing, you know, basic entry level jobs. I don't think that's a good viable system. You know, I get you're learning as an apprentice, but any job you get, there's a learning process. They don't pay you below minimum wage whilst you're training to you know, learn how to use a computer in an office. You know, it doesn't make sense. So I think that's what I'd be looking at. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll be on Discord in about like 20 minutes or so. So I'll catch you guys then. Bye bye.